There's several steps to preparing a fight sequence. Ideally, you'd have 6 months because you're talking about training actors with sword skills and other ancient weapons that they usually don't have. But we didn't have that kind of time, sadly, so we really had to kind of focus exactly what we needed for the fights. First of all, every fight tells a story. I try to know as a director what I'm going for theatrically, within the storyline, within the characterizations. I need to know the subtext of the fight so I can communicate it to the actors, and it's going to make a difference in how we stage the fight. I also need to know the action hooks. You know, what's going to make this fight special? What's the climax of the fight going to be?
Now we got to drive you that way with it. Then where's the sweep kick?
Right here.
Right
More
there,
snakes go
bang.
that way, right?
All right, good. Then I'm left with this arena for this whole snake thing. So the second kick's going to back you off even farther, and we're going to fence over the cobras.
So first of all, it's concept. Then we go into general training for sword skills, but then we go into very specific training of moves for the concepts of those scenes, and then very specific honing of that fight to work with the character's strengths and extra training to get those things we don't have.
We trained very hard on the fights. You know, right from the very beginning, I was training 3-4 times a week, you know, working to kind of get our basic fundamental techniques together so that, you know, when they bring in fight moves and they change the fights and they re-coordinate them and the choreography changes, you know, we're able to adapt very quickly.
Right away, please.
So we all worked very hard to kind of make sure that we were very comfortable with the work we had to do.
Concept, rehearsal, and then final staging of the fight on the sets, because the sets are really the last element in any fight scene. How are we going to use this set to help the fight? What are the set's limitations? All those rehearsals in gymnasiums and warehouses suddenly have to be adapted for the space we have with our camera, with our lighting, and with the set itself, and whatever the surprise limitations might be of that set. So we try to do our final rehearsals on the weekends and really start to incorporate the levels of the set and the set pieces. And I tried to build as much of that in because it gives the fight different dimensions. The progress is all about homework and ultimately about the passion of the fight and creating safety. When we're swinging these 25-pound weapons around, even though the edges are dulled, someone can really get hurt. So we need to carefully choreograph these and very literally choreograph them as you would a dance scene. We'll go through and block the key points, and I'll rely on my stunt coordinators and sword masters to further inspire me blow by blow.
Well, the funny thing is that I did most of my fight choreography with Albert Leong, who's the fight coordinator, who's small. And it wasn't until the first day of the shooting that I actually crossed swords with The Rock, which was kind of weird because I'd got used to hitting somebody who's 5'7", and all of a sudden I'm looking up at this guy who's 6'3", and it was quite a strange thing. And also he has a different, I mean, he wields his sword much heavier than, you know. It was good fun. I mean, we both really enjoyed it, and I hope that is reflected in the fights because we've really worked hard to make them as authentic as we can.
Our sword master was Al Leon, who you'll recognize if you watch the archery scene where Memnon catches the arrow. That's Al shooting the arrow. And Al's been in many pictures, so he is somewhat recognizable as a performer. He's very skilled, but he's a very passionate instructor and was great with my teaching sword skills to my entire cast. He knew I wanted to use principles as much as possible. And he was quite dedicated to that, and I thought inventive. Also, Andy Chang was one of our fight coordinators who works a lot with Jackie Chan. And Andy's got a different style that I was able to incorporate that is very, very fast And I actually had to slow Andy down a little bit because I don't want to see The Rock and Michael Clark Duncan doing the fast Jackie Chan slaps. I want to see these big men do follow through. They're great, legendary characters. They're powerful men in real life. So we had to incorporate some of Andy's style and yet make it a little bit bigger than life than some of the things he's done. The combination of those two men, and Billy Burton, our second unit director, who's a great traditional action director and coordinator and stager, I think brought out the best of the range of action I wanted to do to make sure each fight had its own personality and its own style and its own challenges.